Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, A Big and Furry Bovine. Joining me on the program, Derek Frisbee. He with almost no voice because he's been podcasting nonstop for the last 72 hours. And Bronk from Merry England as we talk about the Cleveland Browns NFL draft and some of the wide and varied opinions that are forthcoming from media, fans, and all kinds of people. We hope to put it in some order for you that is a little bit more sensible than the stuff you're reading on social media. I want to point out that this is going to be a show that is going to be the last one for a little while. I am going to be flying up to Cleveland on Friday and staying there for a little under a week, getting some things squared away in regards to the home that I'm purchasing up there, and then we're going to come back, and then I got to leave again. This time, Brox will be with me, and we'll be going back up there to spend our summer and the early fall up in Northeast Ohio. So there's going to be some disruption of the twice a week podcast, but I can't help that. Everything is a little bit out of hand. We've got Double P jumping in as well. Hello. And
what's up?
I'll tell you honestly, Rick, Haslam always has that look. It's kind of a confused and I just shit my pants look. That's Jimmy. So I should ask the guy whose voice is giving out first. Derek, I saw you basically tweeting saying, what the fuck are the Browns doing? And I imagine you've calmed down a little bit since they selected a guy who's completely out of shape.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that on this program, because I know on this program I can state my real opinions and not have to care. Because boy, do I have a lot to say about this guy.
That's right.
Well, no, it's just I'm not going to be the one saying the craziest thing on this program.
I gotcha. So I'll play that role. So what was getting you so jazzed up, excited, Derek, about this draft?
Well, I'll say this. The Browns made a couple picks that I really liked, but overall, nothing made sense to me at all, other than our first pick. The second pick made sense. It just wasn't the right one, in my opinion. It was just a very random draft. Andrew Berry has a history of either trading out, and, we saw with JOK, if he had a guy that he liked, he would trade up. For me, it's hard to even say best player available because I don't think some of these guys were the best player available. Just for an example, we'll go with our last pick, Luke Whippler, center out of Ohio State. Love the pick. Think he's great. Think it's an awesome player for the Browns for the future. But it makes absolutely no sense given the fact that the Browns drafted a center last year. They re-signed Ethan Posick to a 3-year deal. And Nick Harris is, I guess, still on the roster, but is he going to be out the door soon? I don't know.
That who will be?
Nick Harris will be out the door.
He has to. I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. Is it because he's not healed from the injury, or is this you can't say that he sucks. He never got a chance to play.
No. Well, yeah, and he was hurt, like you said.
Well, the one play that happened against that Jaguars game in the preseason, he just got his ass bowled over when he was trying to be center.
Yeah, and he got injured. But I mean, I don't know. I've seen everybody play Matador at one time or another on the offensive line, and some of the best linemen in the league. Again, Whippler or is it Weipler?
It's Luke Whippler. I don't know why people pronounce it Weipler. Unless everybody I've heard pronounced it wrong his whole career. It's Luke Whippler.
All right.
think Paul Keels on the OSU network says Whippler, so
We'll go with.
I think you're okay with that.
Yeah, but I don't want to incite any Ohio State fan riots here.
Oh, I'm gonna piss plenty of them off. Trust me. Just wait till we talk about DeJuan Jones. I'll have your entire comment section hating me like all of Twitter does.
Well,
Well, he didn't give up a single quarterback sack. Okay, I'm not even gonna.
that's what they say.
That's
I mean,
what they say.
that's what they say. I mean,
Yeah,
The Buckeye lives in their own delusional world.
yeah. The thing that I like about, I mean, fans get all happy, based on local players or college players who play for Ohio State, and the reality is, and I'm honest about this, I don't sit and watch college football because I have always had kind of a problem with the lack of finances going to the players and everything going to the colleges, but not to make them better learning institutions, but to pay the head coaches more and more money.
God. Yeah. They're a sports franchise. They're not a university.
That's right. I mean, and it's become even more big business since the consolidation of the conferences. Let's start with Cedric Tillman, whose father was a serviceable football player so many moons ago that I would remember him. He was kind of a 40 catch a year guy who hung around for a while and then went away. This Cedric Tillman, his son, had a big year at Tennessee, but then ended up hurting an ankle and coming back last year and having a few good games. Let's start with Cedric Tillman. And I'm going to go again. I always like to start with Derek because he's sacrificing in one regard because he does so much podcast work, especially this time of the year. You like Cedric Tillman, right, Derek?
I love the pick because, when you look at the two Tennessee wide receivers, the Giants jumped the Browns at 73 to take Jalen Hyatt.
Right.
Hyatt's the more exciting player. You're going to see much more highlights out of Jalen Hyatt. Cedric Tillman is the better overall receiver. And I keep saying it. Nobody believes me, but this is proof. The Browns are preparing for Donovan Peoples-Jones to be off the team next year. He's going to hit the open market and free agency, and he's going to get a contract that the Browns cannot afford to pay him. Look at the wide receivers in free agency and what they've been making. So it doesn't matter if you think DPJ is not one of the great receivers in the NFL. Decent receivers are getting paid really good receiver money now.
Yeah.
So DPJ's gone. Right, you might as well just.
When is he gone?
He's going to be gone after next season, unless by some miracle the Browns find a way to keep him. I don't think so, but Cedric Tillman will be his replacement. He has every single skill set as DPJ. I just think he's a little bit more athletic. He's faster. He's not a super fast guy by any means. He
only ran a 4.54, and that puts him in fast linebacker territory. I believe that DPJ ran a 4.46.
Did he run a 4.6?
I think a 4.46.
Sorry.
Yeah. I want to say that, and we saw some of that in the punt return last year. It's nothing that I see as being explosive on the field, mind you, but for some reason I want to say that the Cedric Tillman's 4.54, is that what he ran?
Yeah, he didn't run a great 40 time, but I want to caution everybody, and this goes with every draft pick. Don't just look at the 40 times and the combine stats. Go watch the film, because with Cedric Tillman, he's going to be an impact player similar to DPJ, but the NFL compares him to Michael Pittman Jr. Now, if you asked 99% of Browns fans, would you want Michael Pittman Jr., they'd all say yes. But there's a lot of people who don't really know Cedric Tillman, and they're kind of unsure about it because of the speed factor. The Browns took Tillman to fill the DPJ hole when he's gone. And I think it's a smart move because you needed a rookie contract at wide receiver to guarantee he's going to be here with Deshaun for the length of his contract. And he's a talented player. Before he got hurt, Well, I'll put it to you like this: if he didn't get hurt, you're talking about a second round receiver, early
Right.
second round receiver. So this is
Yeah.
it's a great get, and it's more of looking to the future. He'll have an impact this year, but it's more of a next year step up into a bigger role.
Yeah, can I ask a question, Derek? What's his attitude like? Is he like
Oh,
a
he's
normal
awesome.
guy, or is he a
Yeah.
diva like some of these wide receivers?
No, he's awesome, which is
Good.
hilarious because I'll get to the diva that we picked.
Okay.
But yeah, Cedric Tillman has always been a team player. He said in his interview with the Browns that he doesn't do a lot of talking. He tries to let his play do the talk, which
So we got Nick Chubb at wide receiver, who's 6'3", who's taller than DPJ, and has more upside than DPJ. And when DPJ loses his rookie contract, he's going to want $12 million, and the Browns can't afford it. So I think it's great. I agree with everything you said.
yeah, it's a great pick. I can't believe. I mean, he fell under the radar, big time. Fell under the radar.
Wow.
So next we'll let me do what I'm doing here. It's so confusing. Double P, what do you think of Cedric Tillman? Not as a human being, as a wide receiver.
I just want to agree with everything Derek said, that he is going to be the DPJ replacement. And if you look at him just measurable wise, he's pretty much like bigger, faster, and stronger than DPJ in almost every way. He obviously has a 4 size. That's a great.
Hello.
You're good.
Am I still here? Okay.
You're good.
You're
now.
all right.
For his size, he's a great mover, and obviously the Browns, as we've seen in the past, they've been drafting a lot of these physical big wide receivers because that's the direction they wanted to go to. So I think this is just kind of a look into the future, that we're building up that depth for obviously when Amari and also DPJ is probably going to be gone. We're still going to have some receivers who are developing in the system. And I also just wanted to add that 2 weeks ago I wanted us to get Hyatt, but the more I looked at it, I think Tillman was the better Tennessee wide receiver, because for what Tennessee's offense is, it didn't translate well to the NFL. And just catching wise, Tillman's better, and he just has better upside because of his body.
Now, I read what OZ said in the chat room, and I was just looking over it real quick and said that backup quarterback prick was interesting. Oh, pick. I was going to say, God, we're really getting angry early in the show now, aren't we, OZ? I don't even know the guy. Why would you characterize him that way? No, but obviously I misread the comment. Nothing new for a cow. David, your feeling about Cedric Tillman?
Well, I mean, I think the pick could work good for long term, but my issue is, like, how many balls is he going to catch this year? That's what I'm wondering.
In the locker room or on the field?
Maybe both. Who knows?
Shower room.
You don't need
Yeah.
him in a big role this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, probably not. But I do like it, though, because I think we need, like, a guy that can open up the field. I think more than likely he could probably do that. And if he can catch more than what DPJ can, it works for me. So that's all I'll say there.
Yep. And here's what I think of Cedric Tillman. And again, it makes sense because when the first thing that I said when they chose him was we redrafted DPJ. I mean, it's almost uncanny that the same characteristics, the things that the reading that I've done about, and I read after the fact and research after the fact because Derek is doing this for hundreds of players, and I'm an old guy, and I have this.
I'm the idiot who does this for no reason. Half the guys we don't even
Oh,
pick.
you're into that. It's like
You
analytic
enjoy
stuff.
doing it. Carry on, yeah.
It is. It's wonderful having somebody on the show who does that kind of legwork. What I've read after the fact is, and watched a film of him, is where he's not all that great is straightforward speed, it kind of bothers me when the press tries to identify him as a future number one when if Amari Cooper goes someplace else. Cedric Tillman is not a number one receiver in the NFL. Just want to point that out so people don't get discouraged about this too soon, too early. He is 6'3", so he has legitimate length. Where he's better is in the 10-yard, okay? And when you start looking at that, it's like, how quick do you get off the line of scrimmage to get open? Because the way he's going to get open is not the further he runs down the field, which is kind of like DPJ. Where he's going to get open is his ability to move his feet and to get quickly off the line of scrimmage. So he's not a great yard after catch guy. In other words, he has not shown a big tendency to run after the catch. And again, that puts him more in the range of possession receiver.
Yeah.
What I did see from him is he goes up after the ball, and he has really good hands.
Yeah, I think the catch radius is the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be
and the fact that he's not afraid to physically throw his body into the mix to contest defensive backs. And I think that's a good thing. But again, if he's replacing DPJ, he's going to have to find the field somehow. And the problem is that where he played in Tennessee, he didn't have much opportunity to do anything else but an occasional right side slot and lining up on the right side. And he had a very limited route tree. Let's just put it that way.
It was better than Jalen Hyatt's route tree. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I think the whole system at Tennessee really was not about that. But so I don't like to belittle a guy for something that he wasn't asked to do. We're going to find out how he operates at a professional level.
Go ahead. It's funny. Double P mentioned about how Tennessee's offense. That's what Haslam wants the Browns' offense to be. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think that there is that, what I call the Three Stooges Niagara Falls offensive approach. Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. There isn't anything that's going to blow the doors off anything in this offense. And it is possession, possession, possession. The downfield throw is the surprise, not the staple.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, we keep getting these same kinds of receivers, and I think that it is damning in the long term that a lot of these players, instead of being clones of one another on one team, would be much better off if they really played with a true number one so that they could do what they do best. But I think these guys end up being devalued in Cleveland because, honestly, the field looks like everything is crunched down to 12 yards, and the middle of the field looks like mainland China as far as the population. And I think it's one of the big reasons why, from a red zone perspective, you've got a guy like Cedric Tillman. We're going to say the same thing that we say about Njoku. Well, he can go up and get the ball, but there isn't any creative play design to get people open in the red zone. And this has been a continued problem for the Browns since Stefanski has taken over as the de facto offensive coordinator and head coach. But I don't see anything wrong with this pick, but where we were drafting, you weren't going to get, this guy, Tillman, is a good citizen. He is not a miscreant. He's not going to cause trouble. He will catch a wide radius of balls coming to him. And if we somehow managed to find a smarter way of calling plays, it could be somebody to keep your eye on, assuming that we end up when Amari Cooper gets fed up with being the de facto number one in Cleveland, and gets tired of just being ignored. Yeah. Round number 4 came around, and Siaki Ika from Baylor. I'm going back to Derek. I know what they say, but I know what I see, and I couldn't help but see what our new defensive coordinator had to say about Siaki Ika. What do you think?
Okay. Well, I've come around on the Siaki Ika pick a little bit, but and to your point, Jim Schwartz was elated to get him, which kind of blows my mind because for me, I think personally, obviously I'm not in the room, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think Andrew Berry panicked a little bit because defensive tackles started flying off the board. And it was clear, obviously, that they picked him here, that they wanted to D-tackle because I think they massively reached on him a little bit. Now, he's not awful. He's got some tools to work with. His pass rush is better than I think some people give him credit for. My problem with the pick is I think he's a little bit limited. This is a guy who's going to play 2 downs. And then be rotated out. This is a guy who's strictly going to be used as a run defender, which is fine, I guess, because that was terrible for us last year. But I'm looking for the number 2. I'm looking for that defensive tackle who we can put next to Dalvin Tomlinson and be the guy and not have to worry about this rotation. And I think that's what you got here. You got a rotational guy who's big. Hopefully, I mean, Jim Schwartz loved him. I'm hoping he can develop him. I'm not super high on it. I think it was a panic pick, and we'll see. I'm just gonna cross my fingers with this one. And he's very slow, very, very slow.
I think so. Bronk.
Well, I mean, the guy looks huge, and when you look at the NFL website draft tracker for nearly all of these picks in the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, the guys that the Browns ended up getting were like the number 7th guy or the number 8th guy, virtually in every case. Like I'm looking at defensive tackle, and ahead of Siaki Ika is Jalen Carter, obviously, Brian Brazy, Mozzie Smith, Zach Pickens, Keenan Benton, blah blah blah. And he's like number 7.
He was a Senior Bowl riser.
Yeah.
He was a Senior Bowl guy who tested
terrible. And I actually
terrible.
watched the Senior Bowl. Senior Bowl's fucking entertaining as hell. I mean, the guy I wanted from the Senior Bowl was the huge offensive lineman with the red hair that was like crazy as hell. I forget where Cody something or other.
He went to Tampa.
Yeah, he went to Tampa. But anyway, so if Schwartz likes him, I think he's like a 2-down guy. I think he's a 1st down guy, 2nd down guy, and a special teams guy. I don't see him like being there when we need to rush the quarterback. But who knows? I don't know. I don't fuck all. So there you have it.
Mark Jones is making a comment. Schwartz will be cut in camp. The only way he wouldn't be cut in camp is if he's a hemophiliac. Right. I have to add these things. Yeah, he's gone. And double P, Siaki Ika.
Ika.
Okay, go ahead.
So Ika to me, he seemed like totally a pick by Schwartz and not AB because the analytic guys weren't really high on him, and like Derek brought up, he was really happy in the draft room, and you could see it. And for me, he's a guy who's obviously he's going to offer strength, and he's big, but he has bad weight. So that's going to be something that needs to be monitored in the league because everyone's getting slimmer and faster, and gone are the days where we have big guys like this.
Well,
But
you still got like Vita Vitae out there, or whatever his
Vita
name
Vea.
is, and a few other fat fuckers out there. You know,
yeah,
like Muhead.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. I just think, but I do like the pick though, because he's a guy who's gonna eat up double teams and allow our linebackers not to actually get guys in their laps and be able to go through the hole. I just hope that his weight doesn't become too much of a problem. But I think, yes, his passing this past season wasn't that great. I mean, his pass attack wasn't that great, but he's a guy who's average at it, which you would want better than that. But for a guy that big, I think he can still offer something in pass rush. And then for the
Well, is he a guy in the run that's just going to stand there and take on two guys, or is he going to try to press forward as he's taking on two guys?
He's a
Well,
plug.
he was known to push some centers back in college, so
He's
I mean his
strong.
strength's pretty good. Yeah.
Let's just say this about him. There's his pass attack, and then there's his gas attack. And I think in this instance, one is greater than the other. And I'll let you just complete that thought in your head. David, what's your story with Siaki Ika?
Well, the thing is, if you look at Jim Schwartz, the one thing he's known for is he likes these big guys in there that can stop the run. And when he was in Detroit and Philadelphia, he had Haloti Ngata. So I guess kind of
he's big.
Holding to be that. Now, Siaki did say in his interview that he does want to slim down a little bit.
So do I.
We all do.
I do still think
I believe that,
a veteran D tackle in. I do think they'll bring a veteran D tackle in because I don't see him in a starter role just yet because probably he'll be kind of raw. But, you know, and for the record, he does have a nickname called Apu.
Wow.
Yeah, that's his nickname, Apu.
All right.
His nickname
Derek,
in
is he
Cleveland
better
is going
than-
to be Rock because he's
Derek, is he better than Tommy Togiai right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do
Oh,
agree with
so-
Double P, though. The thing is, if they improve the defensive line, I know people complain about the lack of linebackers, but I think an improved defensive line will probably make our linebackers way better. Except for Jacob Phillips. I don't think there's any helping him. But
Got to run the right way. That's the
Dope.
the caveat. Now, for me, Siaki Ika, I'm looking at what Jim Schwartz does. And I think Jim Schwartz is of the opinion that pressuring quarterbacks in the NFL is getting harder and harder to do. Unless you have elite defensive ends, that it is a far better thing to plug the line of scrimmage to prevent teams from running and to try to get some pressure on quarterbacks to make them throw the ball sooner than they want to.
Yeah.
The problem is quarterbacks today are much more mobile than they have been in years past. And this guy isn't going to help you in getting after the quarterback. The only way I could see it happening is if you were playing Lamar Jackson, you would have to tie like 6 hamburgers around his neck, to slow him down and to motivate Siaki Ika. He's not a guy who's going to penetrate the line of scrimmage. He's there as a big human plug against the run. The greatest point that was made, he's a 2-down player. But the thing is, you see him in the game, and it makes you want to throw a controlled pass on first or second down. I mean, he's kind of like a poker player, and you know what's in his hand.
Well, you
So-
know.
Yeah. So, yes, we need run stoppers, and I know that it's important, but I really do believe that that's why Jim Schwartz was so high on him, is because he's going to serve that purpose, but in a limited sense, as far as
Wow.
the number of plays and snaps that he's going to play will be befitting of a 335-pound guy.
Well, hopefully we won't get any kicks blocked like we got, recently. I mean, if this guy can stop, rushers coming in and, blocking kicks, if you put him on that special teams or whatever.
Well, that's going to depend on where they're placing the kick.
Yeah.
Right now,
Anyway.
next, Derek,
Uh-oh.
round 4, pick 111 from the Ohio State University. Your favorite player, DeJuan Jones.
Yeah, the one player from Ohio State that I was praying to God that the Browns would not get. Just to give you some background here, DeJuan Jones is a 3-star kid that Ohio State took a flyer on. This is not a 5-star elite recruit, but he came into Ohio State, and by all accounts, he's very entitled. He's a prick. He acts better than he is.
Wow.
He's somebody that basically gave up on the season for Ohio State towards the end, which is unfortunate because you're talking about a team that made the college football playoffs. You're not talking about a team that had 4 losses and was out. My problem with the DeJuan Jones pick, and I was hoping that he would somehow end up in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, one of these teams we get to play, because frankly, the guy's lazy. He has no work ethic at all, which is atrocious for somebody who's going to be picked to be a project player. I will say he's improved over his time at Ohio State. He's gotten better as a pass blocker, but since the end of the season, he has put on weight. That was the problem. Teams did not want him to put on weight because he's already massive. And
he's slow.
Well, he's faster than Siaki Ika, at least in the 40 time, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, he's not the fastest guy in the world.
He's not Orlando Pace, okay?
Yeah. And everybody at the Senior Bowl was like, man, this guy needs to lose weight. And guess what? He gained even more weight after the Senior Bowl. Wow. And he's really good in the run blocking game, which I guess fits the Browns. As a pass blocker, he's going to get absolutely destroyed. He's going to get by the fast guys. And I posted the clip, and everybody wants to make fun of me and get all mad at me on Twitter for posting it because it was one of his first starts. But Boye Mafe, who is the 4th string defensive end for the Seattle Seahawks, blew right past him and put him on his ass. If that's the 4th string in the NFL, who do you think he's going to be going up against on a weekly basis? This is not somebody... I mean, I'm not even joking when I tell you this is a 2 to 3 year project pick. And yes, he's big. Yes, he's strong. He's got long arms. He's got some really good pass blocking moves. He's really good swiping players down and pancaking. But on a consistent basis at the NFL level, he will struggle. And this is a project pick that you're hoping Bill Callahan can work with. But how can you trust Callahan to work with a guy when the player himself is not disciplined enough to get himself in the best shape he can be for the NFL draft? He was projected to go by some early second, possible first rounder. And this is like, I don't know. I'm crossing my fingers and, wishing on a prayer that he works out. Because if he does, he could be great at that size. Absolutely. But this is by far the biggest boom bust pick Andrew Berry has ever made. And yes, it's a 4th rounder, but you passed up on a linebacker. I talked about it Monday before the draft. There's a lot of good linebackers. There's a lot of good safeties. You didn't draft a single one, and you took an offensive tackle that's not going to help you anytime soon, and he's a massive project.
I wanted to point out to Michael Seeley, I'm not comparing him to Orlando Pace, but when somebody comes out of Ohio State at 375 pounds, there are people who were actually had the unmitigated gall to state that. And I was pointing out that it's one thing to be of an amazingly high weight and agility, and then an altogether other thing just to be a rather slow-footed fellow. The upside of DeJuan Jones, if I could break in just for a minute, because that's all I have to say, is that he was very highly rated in the zone run game.
Yeah.
And that probably is the only reason he got selected, because I don't see anything else that would make me feel that this guy is going to walk out on the field. And also knowing that we just gave Jedrick Wills his 50-year contract on the left side.
That's a good point that I wanted to bring up real fast, and then I'll be done.
Sure.
You have Jedrick Wills, who by all accounts is a major character problem. We talk about him being lazy. We talk about his work ethic. And again, this is a guy who's had Bill Callahan, who was the 10th overall pick, right? This is a guy with much more skill set than DeJuan Jones. So now you bring in two of these guys with character problems and who are lazy. I don't understand it. Let him be somebody else's problem, not us. But we picked him anyway.
Double P.
I'm just going to talk about the on the field stuff because Derek covered pretty much all the off the field, and I'm pretty much indifferent about it. But I'll just try to spin it a little bit more positive. He's kind of your classic like right tackle of the past, where he's great in run blocking and the passing is pretty much average. He's a guy who is height, weight, wingspan, and his hand size is all like 90th percentile or better, and his hand size is also 100th percentile. So you're talking about an elite frame, and he's also a guy who his movement skills are good enough that he's not like a Daniel Falele from last year who is just slow and just can't work in the NFL. He's going to pretty much be, if you want to get like an NFL comparison, like Orlando Brown. So if you have a mobile quarterback, which hopefully Deshaun's a little bit more mobile, for a guy with his strength, edges aren't really going to rush with full force because they're going to be cautious about the run. So he's a guy who, with his strength, can just keep a guy in front of him. But the obvious concern is just because he's so big at that size, speed guys can just get around him easily. So
TJ Watt would have a field day with the one.
Yeah. So for the run game, he's great. Passing, he's average. But if Deshaun can be a mobile quarterback, I think the pick can work out, given if the off the field gets better.
David?
Well, I mean, Derek's comments were kind of just eye-opening to me. And the thing about that is this coaching staff is incapable of handling guys like that because they don't have the ability to sit guys down and put them in their place. But for the long-term view, they want to replace Jack Conklin because the reality is Jack Conklin's not going to be probably at all-pro form ever again. But how do you put this guy out there to be the future replacement if this is the kind of stuff you got to deal with? That's my concern now to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, and Conklin is held together by paper clips. The bottom line is that he could go down just like Nick Harris did last year. The first drive of the year, he could go down. So again, we'll move on to pick number 126.
Well, all I was going to say about DeJuan Jones was,
I'm sorry.
If you look at the NFL.com website, you'll see that he's the 7th rated offensive tackle, but behind some pretty good guys: Skoronski, Darnell Wright, Bergeron, Paris Johnson, and that Cody Malk, the guy from North Dakota State that I was going on about. But all of those were drafted in the 1st or the 2nd round. So there has to be a reason why he fell all the way down to round 4.
Yeah, I think you're hearing it.
The weight.
The guy from Oklahoma State, that's the guy missing teeth, right?
Yeah, Cody. He's
that's what I thought it
crazy
was.
fucker.
North Dakota State.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
All right, pick number 126 is Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri. Derek?
My favorite value pick in this draft. He could have went where we picked Siaka Ika. Dude's fantastic. He doesn't have a great first step. And this is one thing I keep saying with him is a lot of times you'll see these really good defensive ends have an elite first step, an elite first move. He doesn't necessarily have that, and that's something he's going to have to work on. But in terms of his athleticism, speed, and strength as a combination, he's really, really good. This guy's going to be a great pass rusher for you. It'll be interesting to see what his role is, because I see him personally as the number 3 defensive end in rotation, because you have Alex Wright, who's more of the run stopper setting the edge. This kid's going to come in and be your pass rush young guy. And at times he wrecked games. I brought it up yesterday when I was talking about it. He made Spencer Rattler's life a living hell. I mean, he can impact a game. And at the NFL level, I think he's going to be effective. I think his skill set will work at the next level. It's just going to be a matter of getting him playing time, getting him adjusted to the NFL game. Best case scenario, I think this is somebody who could be the opposite of Myles Garrett. I don't think he has to be, which is the best part. But this is somebody who should have been taken a hell of a lot earlier than he did. So to get him at this point, I love it. And this is a great character guy, by the way. You know, moving off of DeJuan Jones, this is somebody you want in your locker room. So I'll leave it at that. I love the pick personally.
All right. Bronk?
Well, he's rated round 3 on the NFL.com, so we got him at a good value, and his strengths all sound really good. So I don't have anything further to add. So yeah, he looks like a decent pick.
Double P?
I would like to say probably my favorite pick of the draft also. He is a guy who came from Missouri, so I know there's a big thing about SEC and Big Ten, but it's one of the top leagues in college football, and he was able to also impact the field there. He's a guy who is already good at run defense at the end, and his pass rush is also well. He's not a guy who's going to win with speed all the time, but he has the bend and power that he can still be effective. I agree. I think it's good that we got him now because we still have Double O and Alex Wright, so he'll just be a part of the rotation. And with him being on the rookie deal, we don't have to go out in the market to look for a rotational piece. So I like the process of this pick.
David?
Yeah, I do think this is a good pick too. And Andrew Berry mentioned they also do see some potential of having him rush from the inside. And that's something I'd like to see too, to see if he's capable of doing that.
You know, the thing that's interesting, again, and I when I look at players that we draft who seem like replicates, and I talked about DPJ and Cedric Tillman, Isaiah McGuire is not so different than Isaiah Thomas, our other guy, who's, you know, our defensive end. Neither of these two players has a great history of sacking quarterbacks, but it goes back to what I was saying about our defensive coordinator. If you can have a guy like Isaiah McGuire, who is tall for his position and can bat passes down, if he's good at just getting in the way of passing lanes, that is just another way of stopping a team. And I don't think personally that Jim Schwartz gives a shit about how many sacks his team gets. I think it's about getting them off the field.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you're looking at Isaiah McGuire as you were hoping for some beast who's going to sack the quarterback a lot, you're going to be very, very let down, because that's not what he does. But what he does do is he gets some penetration, but he's able to get those long arms up, and he can really shut down passing windows, disrupt quarterbacks' vision, and make throws wide or slightly behind receivers predicated on obscuring the vision of the quarterback.
If you do ask me, I still think they are looking at probably adding another veteran to the defensive end room. I think I could see them bringing Frank Clark in. That's a starter opposite of Miles.
If
'Cause he's still
dirt
out there.
cheap.
Probably.
Mhm.
The fact he's still available, his price might have dropped.
Who are we talking about?
Frank Clark.
From the Chiefs. I
Yeah.
don't know if we have the money though.
I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
think
just a
so.
huge capital investment that I don't,
Okay, looking at McGuire real quick, he's got a vertical jump of 36.5, which seems pretty high considering some of the other tight ends that you scroll down and look at. So he's going to get up in the air and he's going to try to block passes down, which is fantastic. We have that done to us all the time. It's about time we started doing that to these other
well, that's because
teams.
we have midget quarterbacks. I mean,
Well, yeah,
let's
that's
be
true.
honest. If
Or
you're,
had.
yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
but you look at the history between Manziel and Baker, and even now Joshua Dobbs. These are not men who are going to tower over their opposition.
But that's the other thing about DeJuan Jones. I mean, is he going to get hit in the head with the ball? Because he's
Hey, it
so
might
tall
knock
and-
him straight.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Derek would get a kick out of that. So,
Hey, can I answer this
God.
question real fast? I know you're going to answer it, but I want to answer this real fast.
sure.
So this is the complaint a lot of people had with the Tillman pick. Obviously, I've been talking about it for a long time. Moo, you know that. The speed issue at wide receiver. I'm not that worried about it this year. I think it's more so going to be another thing we address next offseason. Because this year, Amari Cooper's decent speed wise. Elijah Moore's very fast. He's going to come in
Yeah.
and play a big time role. And Marquise Goodwin is somebody that people forget about. And yes, he's not as fast as he once was. But in terms of speed, he's still faster than David Bell. He's still faster than some of the other guys we have on the roster. So I'm not terribly worried this year unless one of those guys get hurt. But I think next year you got to draft a speed guy.
Yeah, is David Bell? I mean, 1 year out. I'm not
He might
suggesting
get
that
cut.
No,
Yeah,
he won't be cut.
No, just
I
because
don't
he
think
was
so.
drafted, and I can't imagine they do that. But still, where is the place for this young man? If is he just going to be a sometimes used short yardage slot guy?
Well,
That's
he
what
might
it
end up
seems.
being swapped out for a 6th-round pick or something. Or he might get traded towards the beginning of the season.
I don't
'Cause
know
looking at
because
the-
receivers you got to keep fresh. So I think he'll get some playing time, but not enough to develop.
Yeah, I'd rather play Tillman over him. And plus, we already have Amari, DPJ, and Moore in front of him, along with Njoku. It's going to be tough for him to get on the field.
No, it's funny. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the quarterback out of UCLA that we drafted,
Great name.
number 40. Yeah, it's funny. They're calling him DTR, which stands for detour. And I'm really not sure that that's what you want. Let's start with, again, with Derek. We know what this is. This is a projected developmental quarterback that it would require something amazing to happen for him to step ahead of Joshua Dobbs, which will tell you something. What do you think of DTR?
So, I'm gonna go against the grain here of most Browns fans. So I will say this: would I have loved to have a linebacker here or somebody else here? Yes, but there was a run on quarterbacks, and it made a lot of sense. This was a guy I mocked to the Browns like every single draft that I did because of the fact that he has the exact same skill set. Obviously, not as good, but as far as talking athleticism, arm strength, same thing you talk about with Deshaun Watson. Very
Correct.
athletic, very strong arm. And DTR was a playmaker. I mean, he played in the Pac-12, so yes, that's a little bit concerning. But as far as a developmental guy, this is the perfect selection to have behind Deshaun Watson. They've already worked out together. They know each other. They have a good relationship, which is important to have in the quarterback room. As we saw last year with Jacoby and Deshaun, the ability to work well with each other is important. You don't want to have, that not competition, but the toxicity within the quarterback room. You don't want that. And fuck Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond sucks dick. He's the worst quarterback that's been in Cleveland.
Not a factor. He'll be cut.
Yeah, he's gone. Thank God. That was my first reaction when we picked him. Was like, oh, finally. Don't gotta worry if Deshaun Watson goes down. That Kellen fucking Mond steps in at quarterback. Dobbs. I love Josh Dobbs, but I think financially for the Browns, I think DTR probably will be the backup. And it sucks because I think Dobbs obviously at this point in time is better. But you look at the Chiefs, the Bills, all these teams with great starting quarterbacks, you don't spend a ton of money at the backup quarterback position. And the Browns getting a guy with the same skill set, you're not going to have to change the offense much. And I think he could develop into something pretty special. Being a backup quarterback, yes, but I don't think the offense has to really skip that much of a beat. So I like it. Would I in an ideal world, you could have got him later. But it is what it is. I mean, they picked him, so.
Bronk?
Well, I mean, the guy was ranked 6th in the FBS incompletion percentage. And he set records at UCLA, which is not a chump school, and went to Bishop Gorman High School. So, yeah, I think this guy actually has some talent, and this could be another value pick. And if anything, he'll put him on the practice squad so that our defense can have a chance of chasing down Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and all that. I mean, he could be a great scout team guy, if he doesn't get in. But finally, the NFL needs to do something that teams can carry 3 quarterbacks, for a game day, because all these times where you saw teams punished by the fact that they had to bring in some scrub off the street like Denver had to or whatever. NFL needs to sort that out.
Rippin or whatever his name was.
Yeah, so that you got 3 people suited up at game time and not lose. I don't think they've done anything with that this year, but they need to do that because nobody wants to see some 5th-string quarterback that only knows the offense for 2 days come out and play.
Double P?
I like the pick for what he's going to be. He's a guy who has a lot of experience at UCLA. He played 5 seasons there and has over 1,600 career snaps. So for experience-wise, he should be serviceable there. Something I really like about him is his velocity. He had the best velocity at the combine, and it was actually the best in the past decade at 62 miles per hour with the little gun that they use. So gone are the days of like Case Keenum and Brissett backups who
Cody Kessler,
really have
Sean Kaiser,
Brandon Weeden.
Yeah, you can name them. All the backups who didn't really have arms. We actually have a good athletic quarterback who can also move. So I like the pick.
Whedon actually had an arm. He just didn't have a brain. Yeah.
He couldn't find his way out from under the American flag, old Brandon Weeden.
Yeah, he's a guy. He's a guy with a good arm. Obviously, the reason he has fallen this far and he's going to be a backup, his fundamentals aren't the greatest. And he's a little inconsistent in how his throwing process, and he's kind of like Baker the last 2 seasons, only fastballs and not really good at the other passes that you need.
Letting people run under the ball, putting air under it. Yeah.
Well, if he's able to sit for a year, he's going to get better. So that's ideal. Yeah. I think it's a great pick.
David Gillespie.
Well, the thing for me is just keep him as a develop him as a backup. I do not want to see Kevin throwing him out there for any stupid experimental gadgetry shit.
I saw some fans talking about QB sneak maybe.
He's a bit small for that. And when Derek said you don't want to see Kellen Mond, I think I'd rather see Kellen Winslow at quarterback than Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond is not.
Fuck Kellen Mond, dude. I've hated that guy since college. Fuck him. He was the most overrated quarterback I've ever seen come into the fucking draft. I cannot stand Kellen Mond. I was so pissed when we got him.
That's why.
Alrighty.
Fuck him.
Yeah, as far as my feeling about DTR, the things that I like about DTR is that with a flick of the wrist, he can just get the ball out and with power. And he can put the ball on a rope and long distances. So he has really good arm strength. He has elusiveness. At a 4.56 40, he is not going to be an ultimate, scrambler. And he's a little bit short of frame size, that you don't want him taking too many hits. But it's his weight. It's his body build that makes people wonder if he can take some of the abuse that will be handed out at the next level. The thing that was most troubling was that even though his completion percentage went up the last couple of years, up to 69.6% in his last year with UCLA, in the back half of the season, he was throwing more interceptions and was trying to force balls. And very often, young quarterbacks with really big arms try to get away with that, and you can't do that in the NFL. I think that again, he has composure. He's a good presence in the locker room. He's not going to cause any waves. He'll know his position and his place, and he'll work at his game. But there is, at least, it's not like looking at a guy who's short and has no arm and had drug problems like Johnny Manziel. So it isn't like something that's absolutely crazy like that.
And we got the extra preseason game to look at these guys too,
Yep.
Which I think is fantastic.
Hey, Rick, fuck Kellen Mond. I don't want to hear a damn thing. Fuck him.
I'm being asked a question. Moo, what is your grade for the Browns draft? Given the circumstances they're in, I would put them between a B and a C. I don't think that there is anything that just pops out at me particularly. But again, I had very slim hopes based upon where we were drafting and how we got into this situation based upon getting ourselves a quarterback.
There's a lot of upside on these guys.
It's all coaching, system, how they're utilized. It's and luck. Let's be honest. I mean, a guy like DTR, what do we know about his processing skills? And I'll be honest with you. I mean, when Josh Allen came out of Wyoming, they were just talking about him and his arm. But I was looking at a 53% completion percentage at Wyoming.
Sure.
And I was saying, well, what the hell good is it if he doesn't know where in the hell he's throwing the ball? But he processes. And
he fucking sucked his first 2 years, and then they coached him up.
Yep. But again, a quarterback either has the ability to adjust to the speed of the game at the NFL level, or they do not. And you so often you see looking at the primary and then not looking off to the second option, but just putting their head down and running. You're not going to get a chance to get many first downs that way.
That was Tyrod Taylor's specialty. Put your head down and try to get a first down.
Well, I think some quarterbacks have the composure to be able to see things develop, and others just don't see that development. Next is I'm sorry, I skipped somebody here, or I lost somebody here.
Justice Center.
Cameron Mitchell. Besides going to the same school at Northwestern as Newsome. Derek, you have a feeling about this player?
I'll tell you this. I know what you're going to read, and you're going to see the NFL page that says he was a UDFA projection. I love this pick. I love it. I think it's one of my favorite picks in the draft. The reason why he had a low grade was because, and I know it's a terrible thing, but he's got injury history. He's been a little bit hurt, and that's what's ironically hurt him the most in the draft process. But here's what I will tell you. This guy did fantastic against the best receivers in the Big Ten. Gave Ohio State's receivers a living fucking hell when we played them. I was pissed playing against him because we couldn't do anything. This is somebody who's going to be your future slot corner, your nickel corner. He's very physical. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he plays physical. You can bring him off the edge in a blitz. He's going to press guys. He's very aggressive. Love his mentality. And I think the cornerback room is really good now, top to bottom.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that.
Double P?
I agree with Derek. He's also one of my favorite picks that we got in this draft. He's easily going to be able to slide into the slot cornerback position because he's a guy who's physical and he's great against the run. He's physical. I mean, he's a willing tackler, and he's also familiar with Greg Newsome, and with that Northwestern system, he's played man and zone, so he's can play pretty much in any type of scheme that Schwartz may want to play him in, and he's much needed depth with obviously Greedy Williams moving on. So I like the pick a lot.
David?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone else said it. If there's one thing I could trust with this regime, they seem to know the cornerback position really well. Because the past couple of years, they've drafted really good corners. So it seems like corner is one position that they know how to draft. So I trust them on this one.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about Luke Whippler already. Now he's the last of the draft picks. He was a good value for where we got him. Why we got him, I suppose we're going to find out in the coming months. I don't know if anybody has anything left to say about Luke Whippler.
Well, I mean, we went through offensive linemen like shit the past couple of years of them getting hurt all at various times. I mean, I think Tonio was the only one that kind of survived, and he was like crippled playing half the time. So we need 10 guys out there that we can have available. So if he can be that 9th, 10th guy, then more power to him.
I got one more quick thing to say on Whippler. He came out too early. This is a guy that should have stayed another year at Ohio State. Same with DeJuan Jones, should have stayed another year at Ohio State. Whippler's 21. He's not bad. He's really good. He was pretty consistent at Ohio State. He just needs I think he just needed more tape. I think that's why he went as late as he did. I think he's just a very young player who didn't have any sort of crazy highlights or anything like that would make you think he's an elite prospect. But this is a guy who I think in probably 2 years will step up and be the starter. And to get a young guy with a ton of promise with Bill Callahan, this is the guy I'm more excited about than DeJuan Jones because he can step up and be the starter here within a couple seasons.
Yeah, I want to also add quickly that he's going to be like your smaller, undersized kind of quarterback prototype where he's a great mover, but he's going to have a little bit of strength concerns where he might get pushed back at times. But his movement skills, and obviously with Bill, he's going to be hopefully one day a contributor on the line. And I just want to give credit to AB for one thing. This offseason that he's done is that at every position during this camp, it's going to be a competition. And other than the big contract guys, everyone's going to have to fight for their position. So hopefully we get the best players out of it.
Well, I want to thank everybody for jumping in on the panels. Good panel today.
Make a really, really quick comment. I think it's great that we dumped off our 7th round pick and got a 6th round pick from the Ravens next season. I mean, a lot of people go, you can't trade with your division or you can't trade with the Ratbirds. Fuck off. I think it's a good move. We've never had a 7th round pick make the team for God knows how long. So
that has something to do with the people who are picking. Yeah. David, Talevsky, Double P, Bronk, and Derek, thank you for this makes my life so peachy. Again, I want to remind everybody that you're not going to be seeing me on Monday. I obviously am going to be out of town in Northeast Ohio. I'm not bringing my laptop with me because I'm attending to business and involved with the process of closing a home purchase and setting some things up that I need to set up in Northeast Ohio. I will be coming back from there. If I'm leaving Friday and getting back midweek on the 10th. So we'll see what I got. Because I'm going to be besieged with just a ton of things that I have to do that are very detail oriented. I'll try to get on here.
Can you work out enough time to help Kellen Mond move the fuck out of Cleveland?
I'll see what I can do about that.
I know we're in bonus Moohead territory here, but can Derek quickly say if there's any UDFAs that he likes that we may have gotten or are looking at or anything like that?
The linebacker we got, like him. Ironically, the two Buckeyes I like more who we got as free agents than DeJuan Jones.
Wow.
McAllister's not bad, but Ronnie Hickman, I think, could very well make the team. He's versatile and good special teams player and good depth piece. So I like it. I don't know anything about the running
to be
back.
Drafted, Hickman. I think he was he probably disappointed.
He came out a little early, I think. Another guy.
Okay.
And fuck Kellen Mond.
Thanks, everybody. I'll let you know what's going on here once I get through this trip, and hopefully I'll be back on the following Friday. But we'll see. Depending, I can't even begin to tell you all the gyrations I'm going through here to try to get all of this neatly put together. Thanks, everybody, for your support and for viewing the program. And it won't be too long until Moohead Radio will actually be emanating from Northeast Ohio, which is kind of as it should be. Get some involvement with the local fan base. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and I will see you next time. And until then, hasta la vista, Pastorheads. Good night.
Go Guardians.
Go where?
Somewhere.
All right. Bye-bye.